Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth installment of the A.K.47 Podcast. I'm Kenny Stables alongside Austin Speaker. And Austin, let's just jump right into this. You are not too happy with a certain young catcher in the AL East. Do you want to go into that?
That catcher's name is Gary Sanchez. Here's the thing. He was at the home run derby. He hit 34 home runs, not including the post, 33 home runs in the regular season, 36 including the postseason. In his first full year of catching, ferocious hitter, and even scarier with runners in scoring position. And he check swings on a 3-0 count, on a 3-0 curveball. You got to recognize the spin and let it go. I like that you're being aggressive. I get the whole let him go on a 3-0. If he sees a fastball, let him grip it and rip it. But wow. That's why the Yankees lost. That right there is why the Yankees lost.
You think that pitch is why the Yankees lost?
That set the tone, and that just, the momentum, it was kind of like the Yankees were crawling back, getting runners on base, where we got a chance to close this game up, and we could have a chance to go to the World Series. But nope, that pitch, check swing on a 3-0 count to end the inning with runners in scoring position, it was already leaning towards the Astros, and it just full-blown tilted towards the Astros. It was all of them, and McCullers took care of it from there. I still don't understand. You got to see the spin. You got to see the top rotation kind of side curve spin out of the hand and recognize this is a curveball. Maybe you start your swing, but you don't commit. You only commit when you see backspin.
Yeah, situational awareness from Gary Sanchez there. You're not at all swinging at anything other than a fastball on a 3-0 count in any situation, let alone runners in scoring position in a World Series game.
But ALCS game, yeah.
Right. I am more liberal about this issue now than I was. I do agree with letting a power hitter greenlight him 3-0 as opposed to a guy like Ellsbury who can get on base and get to second on a stolen base.
Hey, but maybe you greenlight him and he gets on with catcher's interference. You don't know.
You never know. He is the king of catcher's interference, but no, I agree. Gary Sanchez, that just kind of sealed the deal for the Astros. They were already kind of rolling at that point. McCullers, really? He had a 700 ERA after his back injury. He was bad after his back injury.
He had a rough second half. Yeah, he can never really find a consistent. It was his release point that was the problem. You can never really find a consistent shoulder slot and release point after his back and shoulder problems, and just took care of the Yankees, man. Took care of the Yankees, no problem. And it's tough to explain. So the thing that surprised me most about Lance McCullers is everyone was saying, there's no way he's going to come out of the bullpen. His routine is too long. He's a starter, so they're going to use Keuchel out of the bullpen if Morton gets into trouble. And
the thing with McCullers is he didn't exactly look up to par. He still looks like he has back issues. His delivery doesn't look fluid. It looks like he's straining a little bit. He doesn't look
like he's forcing the ball out of his hand.
Well, I don't know if you noticed too, but I think he made a start against us in April, May, and he looked like he was finishing well. His body was in sync with his upper body, lower body synchronization.
Well, you also got to remember, Ken, he had just a redonkulous first half.
Oh, he was top 5 pitchers in baseball.
He was the ace of that stat. They didn't have Verlander at the time.
No,
but they still had Keuchel. They still had. Mike Fiers had a decent first half, but he was not really in the consideration.
Not very good.
But walk me through it. They had Keuchel, who was off to a slow start. McCullers was their ace in April and May.
Morton started out really well.
But he was in Pittsburgh.
No, he was with Houston this year.
This whole year?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he was
so Morton had a good stretch, but yeah, Houston really got it done with their bats at the start of the year. And plus every fifth day McCullers threw a shutout.
Yeah, it's just, McCullers coming off a back injury. I get it. His stuff looked his stuff looked good, but he just didn't look like himself. And you got to get to him somehow. There's really no excuses when you get to the ALCS. You got to find a way to score runs. This isn't mid-May where it's they're slumping, it happens. This is the ALCS. There's no excuses. You put your pedal to the metal, you focus as hard as possible, and you just tune everything out.
After the first 2 games of the ALCS, losing 2-1, which could have definitely won that game. Stay with me here. In the first game, Tanaka was throwing very well. He was matching Keuchel.
Yeah.
And It was one pitch to Correa that led to an RBI single, and then there was another RBI ground ball later that same inning, but that was with 2 outs. If instead of a line drive single over Didi's head to score Altuve, if it was a ground ball to Didi, then he flips to Castro, that's the end of the inning.
Yeah.
And then, the rest of the game plays out the same way. 0-0 instead of 2-0. 0-0 going into the top of the ninth. You got to assume the Astros still bring Ken Giles because they want to keep it a close game. And if you recall in game 1, Greg Bird got a high fastball off Ken Giles, stroked it off the top of the foul pole. And now the Yankees win that game 1-0. Game 2, fine. You want to give the Astros the walk-off win. Still a couple hits could have gone our way. But now it's 1-1 going into New York. And just blew Houston out of the water those 3 games in New York.
Well, it's funny you say that because the more I think about it, the 2-3-2 format benefits the Yankees, doesn't it? Because you only have to win 1 game on the road.
And they almost did.
They almost did.
It benefited them against Cleveland.
Yeah.
Got to win 1 game on the road.
It's the postseason, man. You can't only win at home. You got to win on the road, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there's no. I'm not making excuses. There are no excuses. This is the postseason.
This is me calling out to Yankee fans worldwide, specifically in the New York City area and Long Island, New Jersey area that are huge diehard Yankee fans. Try your absolute best to make it out to as many home games during the regular season. I know playoff atmosphere is so different. I get that.
It is.
But if it's a Friday night game, man, and it's a good game, and you got nothing to do. You want to go watch the Yankees play because they're your favorite team. Have that same atmosphere. I don't care if it's the middle of May or now. A huge win's a huge win, and you see how certain games during the year can impact either a certain run or a certain stretch over half a month or so, and could determine games in May can determine how you finish at the end of the year. A stat to pull from that, perfect example, is the 2016 Yankees got off to a 9-18 start. 9-7.
They had a horrible April.
A 9-17 start.
Horrible.
In 2016, and if they had started off that year 13-13, they would have won the division.
Assuming everything else goes to plan.
After that 9-17 stretch, they had the 3rd best record in baseball.
Yeah.
But because of that terrible April that they couldn't rebound from, that they immediately started 7 games in the cellar.
Well, you know what the Yes Network loves to preach. You can't win a division in April, but you can lose it.
Yep.
And Michael K., David Cohn, all those guys, they love
Al Leiter, all of them.
It's true.
It's
so true.
It's so true.
You could, outside, here's my theory about a baseball season. You can go back 162 games. You can find 18 to 20 games where the starter just doesn't have it. It's not his day. He gets shelled. 5-6 runs over 2 or 3 innings.
So you lose that game 10-0.
You lose. You're gonna have those games. It happens.
Fine.
You ideally don't want them, but it happens. They're human. And then
I think I know what you're gonna say here, but go on.
Every other game, at least you can find that one pitch for that turning point in the game. You can probably pinpoint it. If you really look back at the tape. You can pinpoint that one pitch. Should have done that. Should have done this.
Some of those are more obvious than others. Like, for example, when Chapman was coming in for the save against the Red Sox, the turning point in that game was Rafael Devers hitting 103 fastball at his letters to dead center. Obviously, that's an obvious one. But you're talking about, like, there might be a splitter from Tanaka that instead of being at the knees is at the mid thigh.
Yeah.
And it's roped for a 2 RBI double, like in the 5th inning.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you 100%. And
then that inning could snowball,
And every game matters. Every single game matters. So if you can get out to Yankee Stadium and have that kind of atmosphere, or at least some of that kind of atmosphere, it's scary for opponents. One of my biggest problems with Yankee Stadium over the past few years was I would always compare it to Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium, I feel like everyone's just kind of there for the spectacle of not really a baseball game, but just seeing the stadium.
It's got a more corporate feel to it.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not really a ball game atmosphere. Fenway Park, those fans are jammed in their seats and they're on top of you.
They don't leave. they don't leave.
They don't. Wrigley Field, same thing. They're on top of you.
Seriously, when's the last time in a Yankees-Red Sox game you saw the crowd at Fenway leave in the 7th inning in any score?
Never.
I can't really. I mean, there's always going to be fans who leave, but like not the majority. 25 to 30% of fans leaving? No, that doesn't happen. Not at Fenway.
No.
Yankee Stadium, it happens all the time.
Yep.
You're down by 5, you have the crowd.
Just watch the game behind home plate. There's a Legends suite underneath the home plate area with like all you can eat lobster tail and crab cakes and 5-star cuisine.
Yeah.
And then there's, everyone else that pays normal admission that wants to watch the game. But you watch on TV and a lot of people say like, man, Yankee Stadium's always empty. There's no one behind home plate.
Yeah,
A, those tickets are super expensive. B, everyone's underneath drinking and have a good time.
That could be part of it, but the Yankees are down like 6-0 in the 6th or 7th inning. Half the crowd's gone. There's so much that can happen. Remember the Orioles game at home when they came back down 9-1 to win that
That was
game?
one of the turning points of our season.
Runs.
That was one of the defining moments of the season.
Anything.
Ellsbury with a grand slam.
Anything can happen.
Which, by the way, was his 100th career home run.
Yeah, well, I mean, what a game that was. I remember watching that thinking, wow. But 8 runs. Anything's possible in baseball.
Yep.
8 runs is not... I mean, to them, it's not insurmountable,
I got a question for you. So who hit the game-winning home run in that game? Who hit the walk-off home run against the Orioles in that game?
It was Matt Holliday, wasn't it?
Who hit the tying home run to send it to extras?
Was it Starlin Castro?
It was Starlin Castro.
Yes.
Tying 3-run bomb off of Zach Britton.
Wow. The guy who should have been used.
No, sorry. It was off of Brad Brock.
It was Brad Brock.
It was Brad Brock. Britton was still injured at that point.
Castro has had a lot of clutch home runs at home for the Yankees. I remember a game against the Rockies when Miguel Castro was pitching.
Yep.
Former Blue Jay. Supposed to be great reliever, wasn't. And he hit one in like third deck in left field.
Supposed to be a great
reliever,
but he wasn't.
Because Miguel Castro and Roberto Ozuna were called up at the same time.
That's right.
For the Blue Jays.
Yep.
Castro was supposed to be the closer, and Ozuna was the setup man. Well, look how that turned out. Castro's going to be a starter now.
So weird to see how that panned out.
You never know with relievers. I mean, especially a 20-year-old skinny string bean guy who throws 98.
Not to be too off topic real quick, I just want to talk about Jason Grilli real quick. You don't know about relievers? How about this guy, 35-year-old rookie with 45 straight saves, and he took the world by storm. He was the NL All-Star closer that year. He came up 2012 was his first year-ish, 2011 maybe?
Jason Grilli?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's been around a while.
Dude, his first year when he took it up by storm, he was a rookie. He was a
Really?
he was a 34
sure
some year old.
Someone in like the mid 2000s.
No, they were making a huge deal of it that year. I remember
Okay.
very, very specifically. Whether it was 2011 or 2012, I'm not totally sure on that.
No, he was an All-Star with the Pirates in 2012.
That was his first. That was his first year. 43 straight saves. I want to say the exact number was just incredible sinker, huge curve. Everyone loved him. You know, he literally looked like a pirate with the beard and the long hair.
Yeah.
Just it was great. And he was a huge he was the huge part of that. It was 2012 because that wild card game was Reds Pirates.
Yes.
And he was a huge part of that postseason success.
No, I
when Jay
remember
Bruce lost it in the lights.
Yeah, I remember that because I remember watching the All-Star game and thinking, Jason Grilli is an All-Star? Like, good for him. Like he's from Churchville, isn't he? He's from Rochester.
No, he's from Syracuse.
Is he?
He's from Syracuse.
Oh, Syracuse. Okay. No, Tim Redding.
Still an upstate New York guy. Tim Redding.
Redding is from Churchville.
Chile. Yeah, and went to Monroe Community College.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. That's cool, isn't it?
I remember Tim Redding for the Yankees. I remember watching him pitch for the Scranton. Was it? They were Scranton at the time, right? The Yankees, I think.
How old were you?
Oh, well, that was when he was with, not Columbus. I think it was like 20.
Because Columbus Clippers were the AAA team for quite some time in the early 2000s. They didn't become the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre Yankees until maybe 2007-ish.
I think he was Scranton-Wilkes-Barre Yankees, yeah. So
Okay.
it had to be something like that. I remember watching him pitch in the minor leagues and like thinking, wow, this guy's like 34 pitching in AAA. I mean, I was young at the time, so I didn't really quite grasp that.
Look, still a 40-man guy, so at that point, he's making major league minimum at least.
No, I remember when the Yankees called up Tim Redding and Darryl May. And Darryl
May's a name.
The former Royal and Twin lefty who didn't really do much for us either. But he didn't really do much in general. But Tim Redding was kind of like the guy everyone sort of knew. He's like, oh, yeah, former Met, decent back-end rotation guy. I remember thinking, like,
yeah.
I remember watching this guy pitch in the minors. Like,
oh, man. So to kind of bring it back to topic, you mentioned the big thing is every game matters. And I agree with you 100%. Every game matters, and early on in the year, you can't win it, but you can certainly lose it.
I would say 85 to 90% of the games, excluding the ones I mentioned where like no pitchers have it that game, it happens once in a while.
Okay.
I think you can pinpoint, if not an inning, a pitch, if you want to go that deep into where an inning might spire. Like a walk to load the bases with 2 outs, grand slam. Like,
I will go that deep, and I think I have an interesting theory, and I just want to stress we are college kids, and we have a lot on our plate, but with my future wanting to be in journalism, broadcasting, in the media, I actually do have a book idea in mind, and I am starting up a draft of it, and it will be like, it'll basically be something that I want to dedicate like the next few years of work to. I want to really get this book out there because I don't know of how many people think this way, but my book would be entirely on game 162 in 2010 when one night defined playoff fate for 8 different ball clubs. If you recall, the Yankees had already won the division, but the Red Sox needed to at least win. And in order for the Rays to get in, this is just one example, by the way. There was a whole other bunch of stuff going on in the National League.
Yeah.
But this is just one example where the Red Sox were, if they beat the Orioles that night on game 162, they're in. But if the Rays could get in, if the Red Sox lost and the Rays won.
No.
So Red Sox did lose on a walk-off to the Orioles in Camden Yards. And then the Rays walked it off against the Yankees. Evan Longoria hit the walk-off home run off who, Kenny?
Scott Proctor.
Who
threw roughly 60-something pitches and never pitched in the majors after that.
Fun fact about that game, the Yankees were up big early on after a Teixeira home run and after, I feel like Jose Molina also hit a home run that game.
Probably.
But A-Rod also hit a home run.
Yeah.
So the Yankees were up like 7-0, 7-1 at one point, and then Longoria hit a solo shot, and then Carlos Pena hit a 2 RBI double, and it just kept snowballing. And then next thing you know, it's extra innings, and Longoria's hitting a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 11th.
Yeah, no, I remember
after Scott Proctor's four full innings of relief.
Yeah, he
just throw him out there.
Not good. And
so
that was his second stint with the Yankees too, and they just blew his arm out. I mean, he never pitched after that, I don't think.
So my question is, how did we get to that point? How do we play 161 games and then one night on game 162 defines the fate of 8 different ball clubs? 8 teams could either make it or not, depending on what happens that night. After 161 games. So I want to look back. I don't want to look back at the games where it was just a blown save here or a blown lead later in the game here. Those are game aspects. Those are momentum shifters. I want to dive real deep. I have a theory that every pitch matters. Every slider you throw low and away on a first pitch that misses is huge. But every first pitch slider you throw low and away for a strike sets up the inside fastball. It changes that 0-1-1-0 switch on an off speed changes the complexity of a whole at bat, which can change the whole complexity of an inning, which can change an entire momentum shift. Which, if you win that game, we've seen the Yankees do this, 6 straight wins or 4 straight losses. I feel like one at bat can do that entire thing to a team.
Well, baseball is a sport, and obviously we've played it our whole life, where one big thing in a game can rejuvenate you mentally. Can rejuvenate your whole team. I remember playing Legion Ball in high school. I know, high school, but still. Legion Ball in high school, I remember.
Hey, still baseball with some quality college kids.
Exactly, and we were down to Sherrill Post by, I think, 6 or 7 runs, and we came back to win. And I believe our first baseman he went on to play at Cortland, I think, football. But he hit a walk-off home run against Sherrill Post. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, wow, I feel great. Because baseball is such a robotic game, you kind of fall into a trap of going on autopilot.
So that home run had nothing to do with it. You were not on base. You weren't the tying or winning run. No. You were in the dugout waiting your turn to maybe come out back to bat. But that home run happened.
I was due up like 5th or 6th inning, so I wasn't expecting to get up. And
so it had nothing to do with you, but it was a team thing.
I wasn't planning on hitting. I was just a spectator at that point.
Okay.
So it's a rejuvenation that you feel. Because, like I said, baseball is a sport where you kind of go into autopilot. And if you're struggling, it's hard to get out of it. If you're hot, sometimes it's hard for you to get cold again. I mean, but once you do stoop back down to that level, it's hard to go back up. Paul O'Neill said it greatly. There's going to be a few months out of the year where you're just There's going to be a few months where you're like in the middle. And there's going to be a few weeks where you're just feeling it. And this happens all in increments. So, like, a few weeks you're hot, a few weeks you're cold, a few weeks grind out everything. And he's right. I mean, it's a constant mental battle. All of it's mental. Mm-hmm. And I think you really can boil it down to every pitch, every at-bat. Something triggers you. If the backup catcher for the White Sox, Omar Narvaez, comes into Yankee Stadium hitting 500 over his last 6 games, he's not a great catcher, but he's hot. You got to pitch him differently. And if you don't take that into account, he can burn you that series. And there's been guys in the past, role players, who have killed us at Yankee Stadium in certain series. Delman Young comes to mind.
Sean Figgins comes to mind.
Delman Young comes to mind.
It definitely comes to mind when he was on the Orioles.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just those little things that just add up over a season that you don't take into account at the time.
Mm-hmm.
How many
times do you see a player like, Todd Frazier comes to mind because he'll struggle. He'll have a hot streak, but then he'll struggle, man. He'll go for like 0 for 22. And you see guys just begging for like just a bleeder. They don't even want to hit the ball like for a base hit. They honestly just want to break their bat and hit a little bloop shot over the first baseman's outstretched glove for a bloop single. That could lead to a nice 10-game hit streak.
Yeah, no, when you're at that point, I've had slumps too, trust me. It's not a good feeling. And when you get like an infield ground ball bunt and you beat it out at first, it's like, all right, great, I'm back. Even though it was nothing, that little thing can spark you. It's something. And I don't know about you, Austin, but I believe in due. Sometimes.
Oh, I absolutely believe in
in certain situations, I think
I absolutely believe in
due for a hit.
No one's going to go 0 for 50.
No.
It's possible for someone to go 0 for 20. Josh Reddick started the ALCS 0 for 22, and then he got 2 hits in Game 7 in the ALCS, and he scored a couple runs.
It's a hopeless feeling.
So
I had 0 for 20 in high school, man.
It sounds hopeless. I actually can't relate.
That's okay. There's a reason why you played in college and I didn't.
It's funny. No, I can relate on the pitcher's mound where it feels like, from the pitching aspect, it does. I've had moments where it was like, I really executed that 2-seamer against a right-handed batter, and I'm a righty pitcher, perfectly on the outside black. It started a baseball and a half off the plate, and it tailed right over the outside black. That should have been strike 3 taken all day long, but he meets the barrel of it and ropes it down the line for a 2 RBI double. And then I've had pitches where, like, wow, that curveball just slipped out of my hand and hung right down the middle of the plate, and he miraculously swings under it for strike 3. Like, sometimes you execute a pitch and the hitter executes even better, and then sometimes you just leave a pitch hanging there and they just miss it.
I don't think there's one true thing that can trigger something like that, but I know even in video games, that can get to you. I've had people online who are so good. I mean, I'm decent at the game. I'm not like a god, but I'm pretty good.
Shut up. You're great.
Okay, I'm pretty good. But I've played people above me, and I've had at-bats where it's like 14 pitch at-bats, and I don't know how to get them out. If that bothers me and I'm in their virtual people, imagine how a real-life pitcher feels in a real game. That can kill you the rest of the game.
Let's talk about Cody Allen against Brett Gardner in that 12-pitch at-bat. Let's just bring that up as an example.
And you as a former pitcher, I didn't really pitch as much, but that can kill you.
Cody Allen's kind of a two-pitch guy.
Yeah.
Power fastball with a little bit of tail to it, and then a really power. I think it's a power curve. A lot of people say it's a slider, but it's like
looks like
it's kind of David Robertson-esque.
Yeah.
So he's nasty, but it didn't matter if he was burying that curve on Gardner's back right foot or back left foot. I mean, he was fouling it off and just curving it over the first baseline for a foul ball. It didn't matter if he was trying to perfectly throw a fastball just above the zone. He was fouling it back to the screen. Gardner had that 12-pitch at bat. And also he was laying off to make it a full count. It's not like he was just swinging out of his shoes and it was an 0-2, 1-2 count the entire time.
No, he was swinging strikes. Yeah, he was swinging strikes. But that's one of the arguments you can make against the whole home run strikeouts philosophy that's 2017 and beyond baseball, even like 2016 and beyond baseball, where if you're not going to hit a home run, it's all right, I'll just strike out and we'll get him next time. It's like, no, work the count. If I had an ideal team, all of my guys will be athletic, versatile, and be able to play multiple positions and work counts and hit triples and doubles. Home runs are fine, but like I want you to mentally suffer on the mound. I want doubles, triples, hit and runs, steals. I want everything. Because a home run, it's like, all right, there's a run, new batter, fresh count, whatever. Mm-hmm. Doubles, triples, it's like, well, I have another runner in scoring position. What if they get another one? It's just going to keep piling on. I feel like that's more stress to you as a pitcher than just letting a home run. Because think of it this way.
It definitely is.
Think of it in real life. Let's say you're struggling over a test that you have to take. I mean, this might not really, I think it does, but let's say you have a test you have to take and you bomb it. You get like a 40 on it. And you get it back. It's like, how do you feel? It's like, yeah, I did bad, but we'll get him next time. It's like it happens. I'm not going to, beat myself up over it. But if you're taking the test and you think you can do really well and you're struggling question by question, you end up getting like a 70 and you're thinking, wow, like I don't know, I could have put it to bed. I don't know what I did wrong, That mentally eats away at you more, I think.
I feel like it's just more strenuous that way. So if you want to relate that to an at-bat or to an inning, let's say. As a pitcher, I'd rather get, if you hit 3 rockets off me, but in 3 pitches in a row, but they're all rocket line drives right to my center fielder's face, that's a 3-pitch inning in my mind.
Yeah.
As opposed to grinding out a 20-pitch inning. I might strike out the side in 20 pitches, but foul ball after foul ball, full count after full count, trying to really work on the corner. It mentally eats away at you.
It matters.
You might think to yourself, oh man, I'm really getting hit hard, but wait a minute, those are 3 outs. Maybe my balls are a little up. Maybe I can keep them down at the knees more, and I get ground balls. Great, done, boom.
Exactly. You learn quickly because it's like I got the result, move on.
Right.
I got a 40, I'll move on. It's like I got a 70. What did I do wrong? But do you see what I mean? Like the question you ask yourself is completely different.
I think you can relate that more to basketball. So let's relate that to basketball real quick.
Yeah,
okay. Warriors versus the Sacramento Kings.
Oh, God.
Probably going to be a 50-point blowout. You take the L heading into the third quarter, you move on. Warriors versus Rockets. Maybe the Warriors win, maybe the Rockets win. But it's a 120 to 118 game, and it's coming down to the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So, are the Warriors probably the best team in the league? They probably are, but when it depends on the opponent, and it depends on. A win's a win, or a loss is a loss, but there's a difference between losing by less than 10 and losing by 40 plus.
I personally felt a larger weight on my shoulders when I lost a close game by 1 than just getting blown out. Because when you get blown out, you kind of turn it off and you go, all right, get them next time, whatever. It
was a combination of them being on that day and you guys also being off that day. But when you're both competing and you lose in extra innings or in the last inning by 1 or 2 runs, there are so many things during the game. And every athlete thinks this way. Anyone who's ever played baseball thinks this way. I dare you to tell me otherwise. Yeah. If you have ever lost a game by by 2 or less runs, I 100% guarantee that you go back to the first, second, third innings and think, man, that sacrifice bunt didn't get down, or that hit and run didn't execute, or when I was pitching, I hung a curve and I should have buried my slider, whatever the case may be. There are so many things.
These little things add up, man.
When you lose 10-0, you're like, yeah, I got shelled today. It happens.
Like, okay, it happens. Move on. I'm not gonna let it bother me. You're obviously way better than me today. Just deal with it. But that doesn't have a big weight on your shoulders as it would like losing a 1-run game. Like I said, even in video games, if I lose a 1-run game, I am fuming. It's like I had a chance to win. Like I'd grind it every at bat. It's like if I know like you're tens, millions years better than me in experience in something and you kill me, okay, I can live with that. I'll move on. Okay. But I think we're getting into the more mental side of it here, and over a course of a season, these things aren't taken into account in records and game-by-game logs. That doesn't show up in the game log. No, it doesn't.
We talk about the flow of other sports. We try to compare baseball to other sports, and we say that hockey and basketball have a certain flow to them. Soccer, too, has like a flow to it. Just even though I'm not the biggest guy on soccer, I know that it's a constant moving sport.
Yeah.
I get it. Football, it's not a constant moving sport, but there's different parts of the game. There's still a clock on it, and there's still running time.
Yeah.
Is baseball the most mentally taxing sport? Maybe this is subjective.
Oh, yes.
But I would say other than a quarterback, everyone in baseball is very mentally taxing. The only position in professional sports I could arguably more mentally taxing over the course of a full game would be a professional quarterback.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the only one I would argue. But I still think a professional pitcher or catcher are even more mentally taxing than
what about a place kicker in football? You get like 3 or 4 chances a game for field goals, and if you screw up on one, that could be your job, right? I mean, that's a smaller sample size.
I get it, but that also depends on who you're talking about. Because like if Justin Tucker misses a game-winning field goal for the Ravens, the kicker for the Ravens, he's not going to lose his job over it. He's Justin Tucker.
Oh, absolutely not.
If Blair Walsh does it in the playoffs against the Seahawks,
no,
then yeah, he's going to lose his job.
Nick Folk lost his job in Tampa Bay.
Folk lost his job. Well, so did Aguayo. So did anyone else who tries to kick for Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Matt Bryant previously, I think. But yeah.
Another example: if Matt Bryant loses a game-winning kick for the Falcons this year, he's not going to lose his job.
No, of course not. If Boswell misses a few field goals for the Steelers, he's
not going to lose his job. So it depends on who you're talking to.
There's a certain tenure you develop as a kicker where you gain the trust of your personnel and at least the teammates at least. But going back to even hockey's a good example. I want to throw in like losing 1-0 to the Capitals for at least, from any team standpoint. The Capitals are probably the best team in hockey again, other than the Penguins. You lose 1-0 to the Capitals. Wow, I could have won that game. What did I do wrong? You think about it more. You lose 6-0 to the Capitals.
And Ovechkin has a hat trick in the process, right?
Okay, move on. I know, I keep saying move on, but like that's your mindset. Like you're down in a blowout, you do want to get out of there. You're not thinking about it. So it means a lot. I really think it does. Close losses kill teams over the course of a season. They do.
So I want to take this little reputation thing. I'm going to segue it just totally away from this. That was a really solid argument, and like a lot of good points were brought up there. So let's go into like the big story for the next coming week in the baseball world. Obviously, happy World Series season to you, Kenneth.
Yes, and to you likewise.
The Yankees aren't in it, and we were very close to being in it. But Astros, Dodgers, I just want to say I don't know what's going to happen. Dodgers are the best team in baseball in the regular season. They have the highest payroll, and I'm not even going to talk about their payroll players. I'm talking to you, Andre Ethier, Adrian Gonzalez, Chase Utley eating up money. Puig, Utley's eating up money. I'm not talking about those guys. You know why they're there? Corey Seager's still on his rookie contract. He hasn't had an extension yet. Cody Bellinger is a rookie. Yasmani Grandal is not very expensive.
No.
Justin Turner isn't expensive yet. He will be.
Chris Taylor.
Chris Taylor with a leadoff home run for the Dodgers in the first inning.
He was a utility infielder for Seattle, and no one knew who he was until pretty much last year.
He's doing utility everything for the Dodgers. You know who their NLCS hero was? Freaking Enrique Hernandez. Kike Hernandez with 3 home runs against the Cubs in the 11-1 win.
Hernandez and Taylor are doing Ben Zobrist's job way better than Ben Zobrist did this postseason.
Yeah. Ben Zobrist has done it for years, though.
He's getting up there in age.
He is getting up there in age. So I just want to say that I don't know what's going to happen. The Astros, you can't dispute their firepower, so they only scored 1 run off of Kershaw. And I think scoring anything, I think hitting Kershaw to begin with getting a base hit off him at all is a moral victory.
He's unreal.
So I do hope the Astros win. I'm pulling for the Astros because the Dodgers are a great story, but and this is probably what other people think about the Yankees. As a Yankee fan, I'm going to sound a little bit of a hypocrite, because this is probably how other people view them, is, they got the money, they deserve to win it every year, let's have someone else win it. But I'm kind of feeling that way about the Astros, man. Like, Altuve's having an MVP season, and would it be cool if Aaron Judge won it? Yeah, it would be cool. Altuve's going to win it.
MVP?
Yeah, he's going to.
But postseason influences don't take into account.
They already have their votes done by the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
So they don't announce it until December. But just when you take it to the grand scheme of that, we watched every Yankee game, so I could see why we're biased towards Judge. If Altuve, I watched every ALCS game, and I watched every ALDS game. If in those 11 games, if that's an 11-game sample of what Altuve did all 162 games, yeah, holy God, he's incredible. I know. Batting over 360 in both series, as well as the regular season, 365.
No, I know. It's a tough call. I think Judge will still get it. Just because of his power numbers, and that's the way the game is now.
The 3 true outcome.
From a non-biased standpoint, I would probably vote for Altuve.
Yeah.
But I really want to see Judge win it.
I haven't watched every Astros game, and I'm just thinking to myself, if an Astros fan or someone in the Texas area watched every Astros game, and that's what they got to see every day, it's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So
I would trade Judge for Altuve any day. Give me him, please.
I don't want to get into this.
I would. I love speed, and I love.
Yes, you do, but that's a guy right in the middle of your lineup that you got to figure out how to pitch against everyone else.
Right, but Altuve doesn't disappear for streaks like Judge does. That's one big thing that doesn't hurt.
You're talking about it. You're talking about post All-Star break.
He started out this year not too good for Altuve, but then he picked it up and it was his old self. So, I mean, even his slump, he was hitting like 260. Like, if that's him slumping, then that's a damn good player.
I remember playing Beat the Streak and being like, oh man, Altuve against Mike Pelfrey. He went 0 for 4. Come on. Altuve is only batting like 280 to start the year. What's going on with him?
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
you know you're good when people say hitting 280 is bad. Like,
but then, I want to say May 31st, June 1st came around, And then he probably didn't hit less than 380 after that point.
No, exactly. I mean, he's a special player. There's no other way to put it. You could plug him in the 3-hole and not blink. You could do it.
So when you look at him and when you look at Correa going through the Astro system, I remember watching Correa get drafted. Me as a 16-year-old sitting on the couch watching Correa get drafted. I'm like, what am I doing with my 16-year-old life? George Springer out of the leadoff spot, 30. He hit 34 during the regular season out of the leadoff spot. Yeah. George Springer did. And that's just incredible with 9 leadoff home runs in games this year. So when you look up and down their lineup, they got these young studs that Sports Illustrated said 2012, attention everyone, you're 2017 World Series champions. 5 years later, that might come to life.
No, that's crazy.
And I think they deserve it. They went out, they got the pieces, and they traded for Verlander. That's like the icing on the cake right there. Verlander, Keuchel, McCullers if he's healthy during the World Series and pitches like he did against the Yankees. You got to face those 3 guys twice.
If McCullers is their Chad Green.
With Charlie Morton probably as their 4 guy.
Excuse me. If McCullers is their Chad Green, then wow. That's going to be tough to stop. But I still think the Dodgers are going to take the cake in the World Series.
And what makes you say that?
Can
you put a finger on it, or is it kind of like a gut feeling where it's just like you don't really know what's going to happen?
It's a gut feeling, but at the same time, I like their pitching staff. I love Rich Hill, number one. I love what Brendan Morrow's doing out of the bullpen. Yeah. Jansen's as locked down as they come.
Morrow's their unsung hero.
Jansen's way better than Ken Giles is. No, nothing against Ken Giles, but
but it's nothing against Ken Giles. I don't think he would take it personally either if you were to look at his numbers versus what Kenley Jansen did. At one point, Jansen struck out 100 guys while walking 2 and like giving up only like 10 hits. I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers. I just remember stats galore for him and Kimbrel during June when they were having ridiculous first halves. It was just like, okay, these guys clearly when it comes to the last 3, 4, 5 outs of a game, you lose.
No, and listen, I don't think the Dodgers have a clear weakness now that Seager's back in the lineup. Could you tell me a weakness of their team compared to the Astros? I
think Seager might be the weakest part of their team because he set out the entire division and championship series with back spasms.
Yeah, but he was fine yesterday, though.
I get that, but but let's see how he is tomorrow when Verlander can throw 98 whenever he feels like it.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Tonight. This podcast airs tonight.
Assuming if Corey Seager wasn't able to come back for the World Series and they had Culberson and Hernandez, whatever, shortstop, then I'd say the Astros would probably have a bigger chance to win. But now that Seager's back and if he stays healthy, other than the outfield at times for the Dodgers, they what's their weakness? Honestly, Brendan Morrow's amazing out of the bullpen. Remember him in Toronto when he was a starter? He was lethal.
I remember
against the Yankees.
I felt so bad for him when he was a starter because it wasn't just against the Yankees; it was against everyone. When he was in Toronto, he was also in Seattle, if you remember.
He was in the Padres. AJ Burnett, and Roy Halladay in Toronto scared me.
But Brandon Morrow scared me the most out of all those guys, just because for the simple fact, man, he was nasty. He could never stay healthy.
No.
But he had games, man, and he had stretches that you were just like, okay, this is the year Morrow figures it out. This is the year he becomes their 2 starter.
Yeah.
This is the year he takes over Roy Halladay leaving as their franchise.
In terms of stuff, do you remember, in terms of like inconsistency too, do you remember Daniel Cabrera on the Orioles?
I remember the name.
He's a tall Dominican.
I couldn't really, I couldn't really tell you stuff-wise.
Okay, so let me tell you. Tall Dominican pitcher, 6'6", scared me on there. He was not great against the rest of the league, but when he faced the Yankees, he mowed us down. He threw 98, 99 with a power slider, an occasional changeup just to show me, but filthy, absolutely filthy. I remember he 2 or 3 hit the Yankees in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. Cano had like the only hit in like the 9th inning, I think, or one of only like 2 hits. Dominance, absolutely. I've never seen such dominant stuff. I remember as a kid thinking,
I remember the game. Listen, I remember the game you're talking about.
I've never seen such dominant stuff on such an inconsistent pitcher. Brendan Morrow's kind of figured it out now out of the bullpen, but Daniel Cabrera had like a 6 ERA against everyone else except us.
If you were to take out his names and the word Dominican, and you just gave me his height and numbers, I would think TJ Beam.
TJ Beam. Yeah, but TJ Beam was never good, though. I mean,
he was awful.
He was pretty bad. But
He was
no,
awful.
Daniel Cabrera, I remember him just mowing down.
Yeah.
Yankee.
So with the Dodgers, though, I agree with you. They don't really have a weakness.
Maybe their outfield, I guess,
They're
sometimes.
I'm not gonna say Ken Giles is a weakness, but Will Harris, Joe Musgrove.
Doesn't scare me.
It's not exactly a seventh, eighth inning that can get you to Ken Giles consistently.
No, please. Take Verlander out. I'll face Joe Musgrove in the 6th inning. Please. By all means, please.
Well, no wonder Verlander threw 124 pitches in 9 innings and then 108 pitches in 7.
I think
there's no wonder.
I think Hinch realizes outside of Ken Giles, his bullpen's very fickle. Yeah.
He brought in Ken Giles 3 different games to get more than 3 outs.
Yeah.
In the ALCS.
He's going to be their Chapman this World Series in terms of usage. I mean, it's pretty clear.
Probably. I just think. Can I tell you what I thought was the nastiest thing? The nastiest thing I saw, the most unfair thing I saw from last night's Dodgers game.
Okay.
Was Clayton Kershaw's on the mound. He's a big guy with one of the best stuff in the league. Absolutely the best stuff from a lefty standpoint. And he throws over the top, right?
Yeah.
He made Reddick look stupid on a strike 3 call when he dropped down to a 3/4 slot and slung 94 on the low outside black, lefty to lefty. Oh yeah, he can also do that. If Clayton Kershaw can, whenever he wants, drop down and throw 94 lefty on the opposite black for strike 3,
You can't.
94 with movement,
You can't hit that.
you're not touching him.
You're not.
And that's why he
trained-
got 7 innings, 1 run, no walks, 11 Ks.
You're not trained to look for that in Kershaw. He doesn't throw outside fastballs lefty. He kills you with the curveball every time. Would you agree? His curveball is his best pitch.
And it's down to a science. That's one of the wonders of the world to me, is how can a guy, every single curveball he throws, it is straight. It is at your eyes for 58 feet, and it has a 24-foot break down for the last 2 feet. 24 inch, 2-foot break down for the last 2 feet it moves.
I've never seen a truer 12-6 in my life. It is so hard to hit the 12-6. I'd rather have a sweeping curve than a 12-6. Sweeping curves are easier to read, to be honest. I can read the spin on a sweeping curve easier than a 12 curve.
And the lateral movement's easier to pick up than depth.
Because the plane changes quicker.
And you don't really know when it's curved. Like a hitter picks up a ball when it's less than halfway to home plate.
Yeah.
That's when he picks it up. So if it's like that 85% of the way to your body, and then the last 15% it goes from your chin to your knees, I don't know what you're supposed to do.
There's really nothing you can do. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And the worst thing you can do, that's what makes Kershaw, this is one of the reasons why Kershaw's so great. You can't sit curve, because then he'll just paint 95. Like, remember after the first at-bat, after the Chris Taylor home run, Chris Taylor comes up his second time, he dots 94 on the outside corner. Like, dots. And Taylor's like, wow. Like, I think he remembers.
Yeah. So the thing with Kershaw now is I can officially...
I'm sorry, not Taylor. Correa.
It was Correa.
Yeah, Correa.
I know what you're talking about. I knew what you meant. But the thing with Kershaw is I can officially stop being on his back now, because he did it last year coming out of the bullpen, and he did it this year starting, and probably if it goes to a Game 6, Game 7 decider, he'll probably be used out of the bullpen. I can stop saying that Kershaw doesn't show up in the postseason. Yeah. He shows up in the postseason now.
Now, yeah.
So here's a hot take.
What's that?
Does Kershaw retire if the Dodgers win the World Series?
How old is he?
Approaching 30.
No. Why would he?
He'd consider it.
He did?
There was a Yahoo Sports article 3 days ago that said Kershaw would consider it if they won the World Series. He has Hall of Fame numbers 2 years ago. He had Hall of Fame numbers since 2 years ago.
He's not first ballot now, but he'll get in.
No, he's Kershaw wins the World Series, and he's World Series MVP. He goes 2 games of 7 innings, and then in Game 7 comes out of the bullpen for the last 3, handing it over to Jansen or just taking it himself. if that scenario plays out as such, and he's World Series MVP, yada yada, retires 5 years from now on the 2022 ballot, and going into the 2023 summer, he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
He should be first ballot, but the way the voting is, he probably won't be. Just because if he has another year or two of numbers like what he's used to, then yes.
Just
because voters are very stubborn.
There's a certain Dodger lefty who only played 7 years,
Sandy Koufax,
and is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
That's true. I'm just saying.
Sandy Koufax.
I'm just saying the way the voters are. Don't assume first ballot. I'm serious. Well, he should be.
Well, now the voters, every single ballot, not just the Ken Rosenthal's and the John Heymans and the Bob Costas, every single ballot, all 500 plus,
is made public.
Good. So this coming year, for example, it's starting in effect this coming winter. So if in December or in January someone does not vote for Chipper Jones, they better have a reason.
Yeah.
Next year, if someone doesn't vote for Mariano Rivera, well, by God, they better have a reason. If for some reason someone decides that Derek Jeter doesn't deserve to get in because he hit too many, quote, singles, then by God, you better have a better reason than that.
Or at least be ready to explain yourself. There was a writer who didn't vote anyone. Remember one year?
There was a writer
last year.
It was Jack Morris's. No, it was 2 years ago. It was Jack Morris's last year on the Hall of Fame ballot. And there was a writer out there who did not vote for Frank Thomas, didn't vote for Greg Maddux, didn't vote for Tom Glavine. Nope.
He didn't vote for anyone, did he?
Only voted for Jack Morris because it was his last year on the ballot.
Okay, that's what it was. What?
Didn't vote for Thomas, Glavine, or Maddux, who, by the way, all got in. Maddux with 98% with a career 2.3 ERA.
How do you not vote for Craig Maddux? Seriously.
Oh, God.
He is the finesse pitcher.
So that's actually, as we wrap it up, we're approaching the 47th minute here in A.K.47 Podcast. We are going to wrap it up. So, long story short, every game matters, every pitch matters. Oh, God, I already can't wait for more baseball. The World Series is great, and it's just a super exciting part of the year. But, Kenny, you and I both know that we share the spectacle of opening day and all 30 teams having a fresh start.
Yeah.
And I'm already looking forward to that. We're in the middle of football season, basketball, hockey starting up. No. I need April. I need April something to come along.
There's one true sport in my mind. All the rest are fillers.
They're just time.
But no, I think we touched on it well. I think unless it's like a 15-0 game, every pitch matters. Yeah.
Agreed. So that's going to do it for this edition of the AK-47 Podcast. Follow me, Austin Speaker, on Twitter at StanSpeak1 or Instagram at StanSpeaker, and follow Kenny Stables on Facebook. We would love to hear your feedback on social media. Let us know what you think about the podcast, anything that we may be right or wrong on, or any topics you want us to discuss heading into the MLB offseason. So until next week, I'm Austin Speaker.
I'm Kenny Stables.
Have a good day, everyone.